Hey everybody, Aggro here. This year's SPL is going to be amazing. Having all the players here and on LAN, it's going to be a blast. But I've got something else exciting to introduce to you as well. Fantasy esports are coming to the Smite Pro League. The fantasy picks platform Prize Picks is challenging you to put your SPL knowledge to the test. Users over the age of 18 who reside in eligible US locations will be able to visit SmitePicks.com and flex their knowledge about our top players. If you're eligible, you'll be able to choose from 2 to 4 players from different teams participating on a match day. The prize pick system will assign each player a score based on their predicted performance in that day's games. Then you'll predict whether each player you choose will go over or under that projected score. But you have to answer correctly for each player you've chosen in order to win. If you're interested, make sure you head on over to SmitePicks.com to read all your terms and conditions and put your SPL knowledge to the test.
Welcome back to the SPL. Welcome back to Season 6, and welcome back to Week 1. Though it is Day 2 this time, I'm Finch, and I have the pleasure of being joined by Taco here with me. We've got a great set that we're going to be breaking down here in a bit, but the action's already been explosive.
I know. It's just been incredible getting a chance to finally see what a lot of these teams have been waiting so long to debut. And I think we got to see a lot of awesome potential in yesterday's sets, but I'm really looking forward to this Pittsburgh Knights versus Space Station matchup.
Yeah, this is a bit of redemption perhaps for Space Station, and then a chance to see if Knights really were as good as we thought, right? Can they open up the season going 2-0 against some pretty stiff competition up against SK, and then now going up against Space Station? So really a lot on the line for both these players. And don't forget, with this new format, every game we're doing from the very first week, from right now, they all are going to matter towards the end of the year. Every single game, you've got to try and win.
And it's also awesome seeing the difference that I think LAN has already started to make a bit of an impact on these players. You can kind of just tell the vibe in general whenever the players come in to the studios as well. They're just a little bit somber, but you can see how serious they are. And to me, I feel like the players almost take this LAN environment as a little bit of a better environment, I think, for playing their matches.
I think you're right, too. And I want to talk specifically about the Knights, since that's the team we're going to be looking at here first. I mean, these guys all look locked in, right? We've been talking about EmilZy. We've seen him walking around the studio with his headphones on. He's like looking down. He's trying to get into the zone and getting focused. It's like that for this whole squad, right? This is a team of just elite top players, and now here in LAN, there's less barriers than ever for them to make sure they're always at that top performance.
And I'm glad we got these adapting replays already rolling, because he's, I think, the talk of the town right now after his set performance yesterday.
Yeah.
It definitely helping to bring home that 3-0 for the Pittsburgh Knights, because honestly, Finch, it wasn't that convincing of a 3-0. I know that the score lines, we say it all the time, can be a little bit deceiving, but that set versus SK, I don't think left Pittsburgh Knights with a good feeling.
I think that the first 2 games in particular, SK were in control for most of them. I had a chance to talk to Dignitas because they were, nearby getting ready for their set, and they were saying during the set, like, SK looked like the better team. And I think that they did. They just couldn't close those out. Now, I think that's important. I don't think that's an excuse. You got to be able to close games out. That's part of being a good team. But it's certainly something that maybe makes you wonder, is this Pittsburgh Knights team all the way there just yet, or do they still have room to grow? Because they did show a little weakness.
And as for the other side of the pond, dealing with Space Station, I mean, rough stuff for sure in that set versus Dignitas. But I definitely think that the guys have had a chance to spend the night really reviewing what went wrong in a lot of those matches. And undoubtedly, I'm sure that there was bound to be discussions over drafting and figuring out pick band compositions that would best favor Space Station. But the big thing that I want to see here, or the big thing you have to keep in mind also dealing with this Pittsburgh Knights squad, is sure, the majority of them are European, kind of similar to Dignitas. Dignitas, but I would argue that they're fairly different playstyles as well.
Yes, this is a tough team to try and beat, and I think that's why Spacestation might still have some problems, because what is the picks and bans that you try and do against this Knights team, right? It feels like there's no blueprint. When they were separated, they were all unbeatable. Deathwalker was obviously on the rival team, adapting, considered the best player in the world. I mean, EmilZy was right there with them. These are all players that no one ever broke down anywhere before anyway. So now, how do you handle this task? I mean, it's a tough team. Though I might say that there might be some openings there. Deathwalker didn't look as unbeatable as he normally did yesterday, right? He and Belair both kind of had some struggles in the solo lane.
Deathwalker felt mortal for the first time in, I think, a long time, but then it just felt like adapting, really rising up to the situation. And I think one big thing that Spacestation is seriously going to have to take note of throughout this set is adapting's patience, because that was the big thing that really stood out for me yesterday, is adapting was piloting the Bacchus, the Arachne, but it was when he chose to go in. There's not very many situations, I think, where you can really afford to wait as long as adapting did, but he kind of just trusted his team to continuously burn out cooldowns that would really allow for him to work into the back line. It
helps when you've got a great mid laner like Zyrhoes in there buying you time. But we actually have a chance to hear a little bit more from the Knights, specifically from EmilZy. Aggro should be standing by with the interview.
Thank you, Finch, standing by with support for the Pittsburgh Knights. Emil, for your set yesterday, right?
Yeah, I mean, it was definitely a good set yesterday. Like, I don't think we expected it to like be a 3-0. We probably thought it'd be a 3-1 or a 3-2. So feeling good. In particular, like I'm proud about how we, even from behind, like managed to stay cool and calm, because that's, I think, kind of our biggest issue, or like would be that someone starts tilting and stuff, but that didn't really happen. So I'm just happy about yesterday.
Does it just feel like things are clicking for you guys already? I think a lot of people were expecting that it might take a little bit longer for you guys to mesh, but you looked pretty clean yesterday.
Well, I think there's definitely still like a lot of issues we need to work on. Like in scrims and stuff always goes wrong. And obviously in SPL we had like a few big throws as well. But I mean, I think everyone is just so veteran by now that when we sit here on this stage, everyone is just like playing so well. So, and they're so like, everyone is just like so good, if that makes sense. And they're so used to it. So everyone's just like on comms and it's perfect, like good comms and stuff. So yeah.
What have you seen from Spacestation? They had a bit of a tough day yesterday. Is that what you expected to see from them against Dignitas?
Well, yeah. Like I know that obviously like we scrim Dig, so we know they're a super strong team. Don't really know. I think Spacestation just kind of they're playing the wrong meta right now, if that makes sense. I think Dig is like really, really good at just having Tricks tank running around and like being annoying. So it's probably not the meta you want to be playing against Dig, because they're so good at pressure. But yeah, I mean, we'll see how they're going to play today. Obviously excited. Hopefully no fall.
Hopefully. Good luck, man. Appreciate your time. We'll throw it back to you guys on the desk.
Thanks, Aggro. I always love to get a chance to hear from EmilZy. And I think he did kind of hone in on an important matchup there, which is what are these supports going to be doing in particular? And what is JeffHindla going to be doing in particular as we talk about Spacestation, right? Because he played Najah twice, right? Yesterday we saw, and he was in the solo lane a lot. It didn't really feel like the JeffHindla we were used to.
It felt more like Spacestation was trying to adjust to the game that Dignitas wanted to play, as opposed to just doing their own style. And there were a couple of standout moments, I think, for Spacestation where they found a few nice picks, but they were just so few and far in between that it was just or they were just incapable of really profiting off of the few picks that they were able to find, because it was just usually overcommitments from Dignitas' members on an individual level that didn't really result in steeper punishment. So one big thing I maybe want to see from Spacestation is continue to prioritize Jeff's support in the early game. If Pittsburgh Knights were watching that set yesterday, which I'm sure they were because EmilZy just referenced it.
Right.
But I would imagine that they would probably stick to the same theme of trying to just ban away a lot of those Guardians. I think that Jeff is someone who can kind of struggle when he's trying to diversify his god pool, but I don't think that's necessarily Jeff's mechanics lacking so much as it is Jeff being a little bit more unfamiliar with such an aggressive playstyle.
Yeah, it really does come down to like your reps in the gym, right? What is it that Jeff normally does and where he's comfortable? And maybe we saw a little bit of him just stepping outside that. It's hard to know. Maybe we'll actually get some answers so we can hear from the man himself. Aggro is standing by with the interview with JeffHindla.
All right, now I'm with the other support. On the other side, it's JeffHindla for Spacestation. Jeff, a bit of a rough one yesterday. How's the team feeling coming into this set?
Honestly, pretty good. We went over all the VODs. We kind of figured out what we were doing wrong, what good things came from it, and we just learned a lot from it, so not bad.
The Naja support that you played a lot yesterday, that's kind of a different feel for you. Usually you stick to the traditional Guardians, maybe a couple Warriors here and there. Do you feel confident in those sort of less traditional picks this season?
Yeah, for sure. It's been something we've been playing with a lot, you know, with the offseason. So, yeah, I feel pretty comfortable with them.
Who do you think has been the standout for you guys that you expect to step up a little bit today? Because yesterday, you know, everyone kind of had a rough set. Who do you expect to take the lead today?
Aqua's just going to kill it today. No problem.
Oh, it's only against Deathwalker. That's such an easy matchup for him.
Aqua's going to be set. He's good.
What'd you see from the Knights yesterday? I mean, they were pretty impressive, but SK did look like they had them on the ropes a couple times.
It looked a lot easier than the dig set, so that's, you know, good for us. They had a lot of good team play. That was their big thing. They had a lot of really solid team fights.
Hopefully SSG can do a little bit of the same. Jeff, thanks for your time. Good luck today. Throw it back to you on the desk.
I love that. JeffHindla sticking by his solo laner despite a bit of a rough set yesterday. And I think that's exactly what you need if you want your team to be able to stay strong, especially with everyone, you know, kind of here way more often and together, is to have that camaraderie.
And I love that Jeff little tidbit at the end there. He thinks the Pittsburgh Knights, where they really look solid around a lot of their team fight engagements. I think a large portion of that is due to Zyrhoes, and I think also we saw Deathwalker doing a great job at causing a lot of separation against SK. So one thing that I think Spacestation can look for here is just a core composition that's really going to allow for the same sort of isolation, get those picks going, and then dismantle Pittsburgh Knights one by one.
Well, we should be just about ready here in a few moments to move into the picks and bans. I'm really excited to watch these, Taco, because they've been so important, particularly in Space Station's games, right? Who is that they ban? I think the big question that's at the top of everyone's minds is, are Space Station going to be banning away this King Arthur, particularly because they are in the second pick position, which means that if they don't ban it, Pittsburgh Knights will almost certainly take it right away. That does mean that we got to see at least that adjustment from it.
Well, we also saw Deathwalker play the King Arthur, so it's not outside the realm of possibility here that Space Station might not want a variety repeat scenario of just Deathwalker going rampant. But there's also, you know, the other end of the coin where maybe Space Station feel solid enough with having built up a game plan to more effectively deal with solo side pressure like that. And I wouldn't be too surprised to see Space Station looking to prioritize a solo lane, especially when Jeff's calling out, you know, Aquarius got controlled yesterday. I don't want to say he got dominated because he got camped viciously by Dignitas, and I mean, kudos to Dignitas for coming up with such an effective strategy for shutting him down, but you know that Aquarius is going to be hungry today after an experience like that yesterday.
And that's what it sounds like from Jeff, right? That Aquarius is going to come in with a fire. And I think we all saw some of it in Game 3 when he finally got to play the King Arthur for himself, and he's like, all right, let me show you what I can do. But it didn't come to fruition. This time, though, Aqua's had a chance to go home, a chance to refresh, a chance to come back in, and now he's like, okay, let me come in and show you what I can do. Because we know that Aquarius is a stronger player than what we saw yesterday. He's a full-blown all-star on this squad for this Space Station team. They need him to show up.
I think all of Space Station is better than what we got a chance to see yesterday.
Good point.
These draft adjustments, I mean, I'm already loving what I'm seeing. Taking away the Freya, that's always going to be a smart ban away from Vo. And then the King Arthur, of course, keep Deathwalker off of such a controlling solo lane and an aggressive solo laner at that. But the Outpush Bacchus responses to the Xbalanque, very evident that Space Station want to be able to control the map pressure a little bit better, or at least they want area denial against Pittsburgh Knights, because that first pick Xbalanque already alludes to Pittsburgh Knights kind of trying to prioritize their team fight as well. So I think it's really smart for Space Station to just get these really safe, big area ultimates that are going to cause some problems during that Darkest Nights no matter what.
Yeah, I think this is a great idea from them to try and prioritize this Outplash and get this Bacchus into the hands of JeffHindla. It does still let him do the aggressiveness that they wanted from that Naja pick that they sat on for 2 games yesterday, but this was what they got him in Game 3, and I think it lets him also play a little bit more of that traditional support style. It gives Jeff that option to sort of flex between whichever one they need at the moment. He'll be much tankier naturally. I think this is much more where Jeff lives, and I expect him to have a better game because of it.
Speaking of Naja, I think that this Outwatch pick might also de-incentivize Pittsburgh Knights from maybe looking to have picked up a Naja for EmilZy. Going to go with a more traditional Guardian this time around with the Fafnir. Possibilities of a double hunter composition as well.
Yeah.
Maybe not even necessarily 2 physical hunters. Could be the Soul or Kronos. We know that Vote is also capable of playing those.
He absolutely is, and this is something that we did see EmilZy play yesterday as well. He played the Fafnir, and then it was Sylvanas. games 2 and 3, and he looked great on all 3 of them. The Sylvanas, I think, maybe a little bit better, and I wonder if maybe that's part of this Puch, that you kind of don't want to pick Sylvanas into that. So they're like, let's go ahead and get this Fafnir so EmilZy's comfortable right away. That might be some of what they were thinking.
And Spacestation still waiting for Pittsburgh Knights to lock in that third option. Not an easy one to decide on either, but I do like the response from Pittsburgh Knights. I also think that Spacestation kind of pressured the Knights into having to solidify their mid laner before the 3rd, 4th banning phase. Otherwise, Spacestation, I think, would have definitely looked to try and ban away gods like the Raijin, like the Morgan, possibly even.
Right.
We know that how much Zyrhoes loves to play as Morgan.
And he's very, very good at it, so it's fortunate, I suppose, that he's not picking that one up now. This should be our first time, I think, seeing Raijin, at least here in the SPL. He was banned twice yesterday, I believe, but didn't actually get a chance to get picked up. So excited to see what Zyrhoes can do on this god. As Bacchus being hovered by Spacestation, and this makes a ton of sense, right? Bacchus is so good at controlling buffs, which is important. I'll stop talking about how great Bacchus is now, though, because Vamana's been locked in, and instead we'll talk about how hard it is to kill the baby.
But this is still, I think, a really solid pick ban phase so far for Spacestation, or at least it feels to me a little bit better than what they had going for them yesterday. By only having the Bacchus, I don't think that Pittsburgh Knights really wanted to prioritize a Guardian like the Artio, for example, because you're not really sure if Spacestation are going to keep buckling down on heavy frontline that relies on dashes in the sort for initiation. But Bacchus and Vamana, this is a very tanky, I think, frontline for an Puch especially, and still helps to control area denial in my mind. So one big thing that I would like to see now from Spacestation is just looking for a safe and reliable hunter, possibly even a Jingwei ban for the Pittsburgh Knights is what I might expect.
Yeah, I wouldn't be surprised if they want to try and take that safer hunter out, especially if we see that interesting support start where they're kind of spending a lot of time in solo and harassing the jungler. Oftentimes Jingwei is safe enough where she can kind of negate any pressure that might come through. That's exactly where the Knights are banning it. I also think the Hachiman makes sense. He got through 5 times yesterday and won 4 of those 5 times, so clearly Hachiman is very comfortable for these hunters that have been playing so far, so get that one off the board and let your Xbalanque be the biggest guy around.
But that leaves Cernunnos all up for grabs, and you know that BaRRaCCuDDa is not going to hesitate for even a second here. It's been a while, but I think a lot of the pros have been talking about Cernunnos actually being the GOAT in Season 6, and with Runeforge Ember and Blackthorn Ember being viable options now for gods like Cernunnos, I definitely think that there's a lot of boxing potential here for BaRRaCCuDDa. He can look to try and play heavy aggro into the Xbalanque, because when you look at the 2v2 situation going on here, I'd probably take the Cernunnos Bacchus over the Fafnir Xbalanque. Only thing that Spacestation really need to be wary of is if Pittsburgh Knights do opt for this Arachne selection, because Arachne has probably some of the highest kill potential in the early game, so Spacestation can't overstep too soon.
Doesn't this feel so much better, though, of a pick ban phase from Spacestation than what we saw yesterday? It already feels like they've been able to recover quite well in that department, as it is indeed going to be the Arachne and the Bellona that get locked in for the Knights right into the Achilles. Man, this is confidence from Spacestation that we did not see yesterday. They knew what they wanted. They knew what picks were available. And it looks like, to me, they got exactly what they wanted. I mean, they've got pressure just about everywhere.
This is a really strong composition, I think, from Spacestation. And Pittsburgh Knights have done a pretty decent job at making sure to keep their core parts intact for the early game. Arachne, Raijin, Fafnir. That's not the worst trio that I could think of for facing off against Bacchus, Vamana, and now Puch.
Well, we're just about ready. So real quick, Taco, who do you think's got this one? Spacestation, or are the Knights going to keep their streak going?
I actually really like Spacestation's composition. Yeah. On paper, they look like they might have the better end here, but Pittsburgh Knights been playing so unbelievably well. It's hard to tell, Finch.
I'm right there with you. Spacestation got a good draft, but the Knights have been strong. Let's go ahead and get over the casters, though. We can see how this game will play out.
Thanks a lot, John. Thanks a lot, Taco. Tom and Toli here, bringing you the business for this first match of the day. And as we look at it, Toli, I have to agree with what the analysts said. I think that the picks and ban phase here for Spacestation Gaming both was the issue for them yesterday.
Yes, absolutely.
And looks a lot better here.
A little bit. I like the Puch. They learned their lesson after Zyrhoes, making a real statement with that pick yesterday. But today, switching things up with the Bellona soul lane. I like this from Deathwalker. Good luck trying to do the Spacestation Gaming or any kind of early invade shenanigans up against an Arachne, a Bellona, and also the Raijin.
Exactly. So you can see what's going on here with the Arachne playing laying down those webs a little bit earlier. She's going to have a little bit of help there on the speed buff, and she'll be able to go other places. I'm actually curious what's going to... All right, so the spiders on the speed buff plus Raijin should take care of it. And then you're going to go see what's happening here with Arachne. She follows the solo lane.
I like this idea. We haven't really seen this before. We've seen iterations of it when the buff from Arachne came from 2 webs into 3 webs, trying to look for some sort of opening idea. But this time around, after all the invades Pittsburgh Knights had to deal with yesterday, they're the ones trying to invade today.
Yeah, you can see Arachne just, and this is really what's terrible. The level 1 just, that's what she does, baby. Arachne starting things off hot. First blood for Pittsburgh Knights.
That's so disgusting. I love this idea because it abuses the blink start out of any jungler. Vamana's not known to start their dash right away, and as a result, that web with the slow of 40% movement speed makes it impossible to get away, especially when you got a Bellona assisting in the matter.
And the thing here that really helps Arachne handle that situation is her passive. She's got this baby chin size sort of situation going on, so you can start the web and not even use it in the engagement and then just tick, 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 tick down with your basic attacks because they're getting amplified from that nonsense.
Also a little bit of slow from the Bellona, I believe, going for the shield bash at that level 1 and getting that level 2 before Aqua was able to. So that's going to be an increased time of when the Gladiator shield is going to be finished. Although with the Bellona, it's going to be a Berserker shield instead, utilizing that attack speed and getting sustained based off of every basic attack.
Left side, we've got some action, but focusing on that matchup you're talking about here with Bellona versus the Achilles. The Achilles snap locked in because he can interrupt that bludgeon. We just saw it. And so Bellona has this situation where she has an option to level her abilities. Usually, we see that level 2 being, or we see that bludgeon being leveled, the 2, in order to increase her ability to go ahead and clear the wave and also cause some harm. But here, I think we're likely to see an investment in the whip.
It's very possible. Obviously, you're not going to confirm the second hit because of that right there. The stun is going to prevent it every single time. But I'm pretty sure the bludgeon is about 3 to 4 seconds shorter of a cooldown than the stun. So you can always bait out the stun with your first bludgeon and then go for round 2 later on. And as a result of Aqua canceling out the bludgeon, he doesn't have an opportunity to clear the wave as effectively as he would normally want. And that's why he's constantly getting pushed under his tower. And that's allowing Deathwalker to now get his second totem of coup.
EmilZy jumping out of the way of JeffHindla. And Aggro brought something up in the pregame interview that I thought was really important. Jeff has traditionally been the good Golden Guardian. Very rare did we see him move to the Warriors when that was really what was taking over. That's more Trixtank's world, right? And the Assassins seem even more so kind of out of his element. So happy to see him on the Bacchus one more time.
Adapting now, grouped up with Deathwalker yet again. Because of all this lane pressure, looking for the blue buff invade, and they will successfully steal that one away. Not a good time for Aqua in this first game.
Now, andinster played the Vamana yesterday, and I think the Vamana was his least exciting performance, frankly. I liked just like I said, how Jeff is this is a traditionalist team, frankly. I like to see Jeff and the Guardians. I like to see andinster on characters that are going to get in and out real quick, burst damage. Now, Vamana has some of that, but looking at the build from yesterday, he was building Frostbound into Stone-Cutting Sword. Not really the all-out burst damage that we might expect from a player like Andy. So I really want to see what this Vamana kind of blossoms into, because I didn't like it yesterday at all.
I want to see the Alquangs,
Yeah,
maybe something that's going to be a hard carry for andinster in the later stages of the game, whereas Vamana is kind of a cleanup crew, whether it's soul lane or the jungle. But with the Blink, there could be some opportunities on the left side of the map. However, the way VOD and EmilZy have been playing thus far, they're not overstretching with any purple buff invades because they're very content about all the right side blue buff invades that they've been getting off.
Pittsburgh Knights here, off to an early lead. As you said, the solo lane starting off really clean. The dual lane also doing well. Everybody kind of winning. We're 433 here, but it's not silent whatsoever. Pittsburgh Knights are already found themselves over 1,000 gold above the opposition. normally this early, I don't even talk about leads, but 1,000 at 4 minutes, it's actually a big deal.
It's only going to get worse. Totem of Ku respawning in 10 seconds. We're barely 5 minutes into the game. I'm expecting Deathwalker to get all the remaining Totem of Kus to stack this up. And keep in mind, that's going to be 125 gold for the Pittsburgh Knights every single minute. And then the 2-minute respawn timer of the blue buff. Look where adapting is. He has this blue buff on timer, even positioning a ward between that blue buff and the back camps.
Golden Blade's finished up here for Arachne, so her clear is going to be actually fantastic. And that's absolutely the goal here, is to kind of keep this Achilles at bay. Aquarius does very well when he's able to be aggressive in the solo lane. And Pittsburgh Knights are doing their best to strip every element or tool away from him, so he can't be aggressive.
It's almost impossible to be aggressive against a Bellona. Even if you are King Arthur, you are able to sustain long enough with your whip, and as soon as you get Berserker Shield, that you could just actually trade out King Arthur, even with Gladiator Shield, as we see andinster now trying to relieve some of this pressure.
This has to go the way of Spacestation to make it worth it. The jump away is good for DW, and there will be no chase. Ultimate expended. Is that a win?
A little bit, but they have to go for round 2. They have to abuse that timer. I'm surprised that andinster didn't save his slow until after the ultimate. If he waited for the ultimate, blinked, knocked up, confirmed the slow, allow Aqua to catch up, maybe that tier 1 tower dive would have been successful with Fatal Strike, but because he was a little too hasty, it just allowed for a clean escape.
On the other side, I think that this is a calculated 2-step gank, right? Because we don't see anything expended, no blink, because of everything you just highlighted,
Yes, yeah.
I think they have in mind, all right, you rallied over there.
Yeah.
We're going to come back, and you won't have access to that.
It's possible. Deathwalker getting his 5th Totem of Ku thus far. Really dicey situation for Aqua, as it's about 625 gold collectively just from those Totem of Kus added to Pittsburgh Knights. And with all this pressure on the right side of the map, this is kind of allowing like EmilZy and Vote to kind of do their own thing.
It's also allowing, don't forget, it also gives movement speed. That's what it's allowing adapting to be on, like, just everywhere on the map.
Right.
Dips into that tower, gets a little zoom for 9 seconds, and this Arachne is just skittering everywhere you don't want her to be.
Doesn't matter if you're dipping under the tier 1 tower or rotating from the base when you're going through a Phoenix, through a tier 2 tower.
Here comes the lights, and EmilZy's going to transform. Gank on the left-hand side. Vote already down pretty low, but he's got help from his friends. There's the ultimate on a BaRRaCCuDDa. EmilZy on the chase, dashing forward, and the kill goes to the support off of the assist from the jungle. Big boy taunts and a Zyrhoes, but they can't find the rest onto JeffHindla. Spacestation now making the rotation. Slow is good, knockup's better. Puch! But Andy, trying to chase down adapting, might be out of gas.
He has no abilities, no ultimate, no blink. He's actually going to use that venomous bite just to sustain off of the oracles. I thought for a moment that maybe Pittsburgh Knights have overstretched trying to kill out JeffHindla without any cooldowns, but unfortunately for andinster, he didn't hit his umbrella rank to slow out Zyrhoes and make that chase successful. Maybe if he hit out adapting, since he didn't have the ultimate, he didn't have beats, that would have been an easier target, but instead going for the least optimal idea of Zyrhoes.
It's always scary to fight Arachne. At this point right now, I think Vamana might even have a chance, but you've got to dance with that second ability to make sure you don't get wrapped up. There's just so many ifs and buts, and just don't fight the bug.
Well, I think a Colossal Fury Vamana should be able to fight the bug, so long as it's this early in the game. Both level 7, Arachne with the Golden Blade, just now picking up tier 2 version of the stone cutting, whereas andinster on the Vamana has the hasten katana, so it can chase adapting even through the webbing.
Hasten katana. This is a look I like for the Vamana. I don't want to see. I don't really want to see tank Vamana in the jungle come out from Andy. And every section of that sentence is important from Andy. I want to see aggressive Vamana from Andy. Tank Vamana in the jungle, sure, might work. Other team, other players. andinster does best when he's aggressive. I'm going to say it over and over again.
The way andinster needs to be successful this game on the Vamana, if he decides to build burst damage, is allowing Aqua and JeffHindla to be the sponge of damage, right? And then playing cleanup crew. But I'm a little worried for Spacestation Gaming if they do this strategy, because if JeffHindla and Aqua commit, then andinster goes for the secondary wave follow-up. Who's peeling in the backline for Venenu and BaRRaCCuDDa? And this might be the idea as to why they elected to lock in the Puch with the Empty the Crypts having so much space control.
That's a big deal. You definitely want to be aware of what you're able to control here. Spacestation Gaming trying to control Vote, the entirety of Pittsburgh Knights collapsing on those three. andinster already down to half, pops into the big baby. EmilZy controlling BaRRa on the back line and adapting, making sure to send him right back to bed. EmilZy takes care of the support. Both members of the dual lane are down. Now it's Andy versus the world. The spider skitters on out, and Andy sits down. EmilZy, a double kill for the support in the dragon mode. Venenu trying to control it, and this should confirm pop.
But at what cost? Venenu does get the kill, but can he? No, he can't get away from adapting. So overall, it was a 3-for-2. A great play coming out of Pittsburgh Knights, just stretching their lead even further.
You know, it's interesting. If adapting's on virtually any other character outside of the Arachne, this Puch might be able to dance and spin and pick up a corpse and explode and actually win that 1v2. That's absolutely possible. But
this is another thing about this matchup, is you can't even fight the Bellona during the Totem of Coup, because she's hitting you and the Totem with the hammer, and then once it gets, you know, high enough that you could just change to the whip as well, disarm them so they can't hit the Totem. There's no winning that situation unless you just have more AoE abilities.
Well, Pittsburgh Knights picking up where they left off yesterday, and that is dominant. 3,600 gold in the lead, 2,100 experience as well, just 11 and a half minutes in. The 4 kills that Pittsburgh Knights have above SSG, certainly worth talking about. But I think the conversation is more about how they've been controlling Space Station. We've highlighted that control of the blue buff that has since gone the way of the dodo, but the first 3 blue buffs are perhaps the most important, and those are the ones that the Knights took away.
And that was off of the back of the level 1 speed buff invade, really punishing out andinster for going blink a level 1 as opposed to the beats. Couldn't get away from the Arachne slow. It was a great mindset that the Pittsburgh Knights came into this game, and they're not really known for these kinds of invades. Like individually, whether they were energy or rival specifically, they just kind of like outpace you or just have like a marathon of a game against you.
Well, I think that's the benefit of 1, breaking away from longtime teammates, and 2, pairing up with people like Deathwalker. Deathwalker is definitely one of the more creative players in the league, and you could be with the best team. I mean, you're going to avoid some JeffHindla stuff, but your mindset gets sort of stationary. Sometimes you need to have a roster change just to open your mind to things you've never thought about.
That's a good point that you make, because I believe it was at Worlds, Rival versus Energy, where it was Deathwalker on the Erlong Shen, if I'm not mistaken, just kind of casually 1v2ing.
Yeah.
Got 1 kill, almost killed Adapting Thor as well. It was a little disgusting, actually. So now that Adapting and Deathwalker together, those ideas, Adapting doesn't at least have to worry about it on his side.
Well, Vote has to worry about Space Station just collapsing on him. Moves to the left, moves to the right. Nice dancing shoes there from the Scott. Now EmilZy here, chasing him down. 2 versus 3. Venenu up top, though. Zyrhoes down bottom. The mid laners are here. And a teleport. Oh, beautiful. It's going to be cut down. Wonderful attention to detail there from Pittsburgh Knights to make sure this stays a 4-on-4.
Priorities needs to be detailed in every step of the way. Yeah, you got the stun onto andinster, which forces out the ultimate, but that communication was top notch. If that teleport goes through, PK is done for.
If that look at this.
No ulti. Is he gonna blink?
Andy just sees him here, adapting, trying to make it over here. Oh, does Andy not see him? No, he sees him. He just has help from his friends. Adapting drops the spiders and blinks away.
I think he could have definitely blinked on that Vamana and at least kill him, or at least force the dash. And having the ultimate of Arachne you were safe in going into the Soul lane with Deathwalker having this much lane control anyway. But regardless, taking the safe option, seeing if he can get away with it. I respect that Adapting didn't full-on hard commit because they already have a significant, almost total of a 6,000 gold lead.
Yeah, this is, and that's exactly how I like to see it played. I always say that you have to be careful when you have a lead, but at the same time, you have to abuse said lead. That's
sure.
That's the beauty of a MOBA. You are mathematically ahead, right? So that's exactly how I want to see it. Put your toe in the water,
yeah.
Toss some spiders, roll the dice, but don't, like, dive head in like you're Ralph.
Yeah, he put himself in a position to make the play, and he didn't like the temperature of the said water. And some of the changes to Season 6, if you're a higher level individual that dies to the lower level, that experience difference now in Season 6 is going to favor the lower level much more than it did in Season 5. And that would allow Spacestation Gaming an ample opportunity to get back into this game.
Yeah, you wind up just being a big old loop pinata, so you got to be careful about how much you present yourself to the opposition. Touching on builds real quick, mid laners are both going very similar itemization. Cooldown booties into very strong pan options by Spear of the Magus. Solo lane, again, pretty standard. I think I want to bring attention to the Blackthorn Hammer, though, here. The 30%. Moment, Gold Fury will certainly be a look. Halfway down is the objective.
Reset.
Andy blinking in and getting destroyed in a blink of an eye. JeffHindla drops down the ultimate, but he's going to get dropped himself. DW on a tear. Double kill for that man. And EmilZy zoning out two other players. Pittsburgh Knights again control the arena.
Great objective control, and PK is very happy to reset the Gold Fury yet again and look for more kills onto Venenu that just can't escape.
Vote takes down Venenu. BaRRaCCuDDa dashes to the left. Aquarius dashes to the right. The Gold Fury down south is already taken. Zyrhoes into the ultimate doesn't have the range, so Aquaman will continue to run. Just some spiders for harassment.
I think he could have killed him with the ultimate still up for the escape, but Adapting just very happy about getting the objective and going for this tier 1 tower. Great plays from PK, killing andinster, baiting somebody out of Space Station. Like, hey, we're doing this Gold Fury. One of you frontliners better come here and do something about it. Andinster comes in first, drops like a fly. He did not have a chance from that bludgeon. And then at that point, JeffHindla comes in, tries to position himself for the most optimal intoxicate, but he was dead to rights after his belly flop. Deathwalker chasing him through with the Eagles rally. No possible escape. And with those two frontliners dead, it was easy pickings taking out Venenu.
I love the terminology easy pickings because this was Pittsburgh Knights just going to a restaurant and ordering up. They go, hey, can we have one Vamana, please? And they get delivered a Vamana. And then, you know what? I'm still not full. May I have a Bacchus? And then they get delivered a Bacchus.
It's quite the entree.
Space Station Gaming kind of messed up by delivering separate courses instead of just going, here's a giant 5-for-5 meal, and instead of grouping up, they trickle in one by one, and Pittsburgh Knights happily chow down.
So Venenu was the dessert on the outwash.
I guess so.
Of all the
Achilles, no, it was Aquarius that was the dessert. Everybody has a little bit of nibble and then leaves the rest on the table.
Oh, okay.
That's really what happened.
Gotcha.
There.
I thought the third course was Venenu there at the very end of it all. Aqua was just the pipe dream at the end of it. 9-2 is Pittsburgh Knights, still a commanding 8,000 gold lead. Very happy about looking for a play in the mid lane onto Venenu without any relics.
No problem, though.
I thought Vote was going to go in.
Nah, not going to happen here, and
Ouch.
Adapting gets eaten. And this is just what I was going to say, Anatoly. 8,000 gold is the deficit that Space Station Gaming have to deal with. But at the same time, we're definitely getting to a spot where, played correctly, Space Station Gaming can abuse the fact that Pittsburgh Knights are spreading out a little bit more and more.
They definitely are spreading out, but it's not the end-all be-all. Adapting's back up in 20 seconds. I don't even think that PK cares if this Pyromancer goes down or not. Not much was committed to the kill onto the Arachne. It is getting dangerously low. EmilZy trying to go in, but he jumps into Venenu's ultimate.
Yeah, there's the jump from Jeff, but waiting beneath him is the ultimate out of the wild hunt. Deathwalker surrounded just the way he likes it. EmilZy puts number 10 on the board for Pittsburgh Knights. Aquarius is still in trouble. Vote dashes forward, and Aquarius underwater It's a 2 for none. Space Station get the Fire Giant Jr. and Pittsburgh Knights are looking at the death.
BaRRaCCuDDa gonna get stunned out through the wall, jumping away from the corpse explosion as Vote even having to use an Aegis to prevent that from happening. Deathwalker still leashing the Fire Giant, that's 50% health, adapting now back into the mix, looking for some vengeance.
This is rough. This Fire Giant should not still be pulled, but DW just has infinite sustain. The problem is his teammates don't. Vote at 25, Zyrhoes at half, EmilZy at 40 is walking towards Space Station. I mean, DW is he just going to solo? This is the right call.
Adapting needed to do something there.
Yeah.
He needed to go onto Space Station or assist with the Fire Giant in general. I respect the disengage, but I think that was a missed opportunity because there were no more ultimates from Space Station Gaming. Very minimal relics as well, and with adapting, having the blink, having the ultimate, having great amount of movement speed, could have locked somebody down. However, the rest of PK outside of Deathwalker was just a little too low for comfort. Backing on out there, still with a very comfortable 8,000 gold lead.
Space Station Gaming have to be really frustrated there because they're counting down the seconds until Andy's blink comes back up. It was about 25 seconds on cooldown, right? Full health Vamana, blink into the back line, Armored Umbrella Ring, you're killing Vote, and you're able to transition and look towards Zyrhoes as well. Pittsburgh Knights are holding this Fire Giant for seemingly no reason, just because they
want to fight.
Yeah, I mean, you know what it looks like. It looks like when somebody does like an old school WoW raid 30 levels later, right?
Okay, yeah.
And Deathwalker's just sitting there soloing Onyxia. But the problem is that everybody was weak and ready to get jumped on. Space Station didn't take the bait, and that's what Pittsburgh Knights were looking for. If Andy had a blink, I would have even said that they should have taken the bait. But without those relics, just not available, and if they just walk in kind of lackadaisically, that's where Pittsburgh Knights are able to take advantage. So Space Station Gaming just barely missed an opportunity, but that opportunity was kind of set up by the Knights.
Outside of the frustration of waiting for andinster's blink, they were also frustrated the fact that they lost a 5-on-4 engagement. Adapting was still dead, and they had all their ultimates available to them. They baited out EmilZy to try to steal the objective. Space Station still confirmed the Pyromancer, even dropped Empty the Crypt, trying to deter and scare away from PK from assisting their Guardian support in this engage. But that didn't stop PK. They wanted to fight 4-on-5. They had the Bellona, Eagles rally in the back line. There was just no escape from SSG. Even the sprint from JeffHindla just wasn't enough to cut that distance.
Vote so far absolutely driving the damage for this squad. Able to find those basics, able to really get the damage off of some of the dashes as well. Don't forget that combo still in place. If you're slowed by the darts, you get hit by the Rising Jaguar, you're really going to feel it. The Transcendence build certainly helping that one go that way.
Adapting, dropping some webs between the blue and the back camps, really making it difficult for andinster to make a decision. If he goes through it, he's not going to be able to blink. Those spiders will keep him in combat. So a lot of mind games there. Keep the 4-on-4 on the right, leave the jungler for jungler on the left.
And look, Andy's able to, or Adapting's able to keep pushing Andy back further.
This reminds me of a StarCraft 2 game where you're like dropping the little creep and spreading it out with your queen as well. Oh my goodness.
It's the, and you know, I'm using Micro from Adapting, just zone controlling individual corridors here.
This is awesome. I love it.
Making sure that Andy can't deal with it.
I love it.
The rest of the team is going to fight 4-on-4 under the tower. Deathwalker
what
here
does he do?
tanking out the nonsense. And here comes the rest of Pittsburgh
Knights. Great
belly flop from Jeff, but where's the help? It's underground. Venenu drops the ultimate and gets dropped himself. Zyrhoes in his ult. A little bit separated from Deathwalker, and BaRRaCCuDDa punishes the opposition. It's for one so far, and Pittsburgh Knights get denied the Tier 2 tower. Can they look more?
They could. JeffHindla without a belly flop, though, but the problem is Adapting, one on the left side of the map, hasn't have the DPS to assist. Now Zyrhoes forced to use the beats. Fatal Strike getting Aegis out, but Zyrhoes receiving the shell, trying to buy some time. EmilZy in the Draconic form, trading out 1-for-1 as Vote takes out Aqua.
Nice, big knock-up out of the support, and that'll line up 2 players. 2 dead on either side, but Venenu almost up. Vote has to get fancy. Dashes to the right and the left as EmilZy off-screen takes a tumble thanks to BaRRaCCuDDa's basics. And that fight goes all the way home. Spacestation Gaming win an engagement.
Adapting, just went too far to the left after that tier 2 tower disengaged. If he was a little bit closer to the team fight, they could have punished JeffHindla for jumping into EmilZy like that. A great recognition out of the North Americans, really punishing Pittsburgh Knights for overstepping at that tier 2 tower. And keep in mind, that defense was done with an 8,000 gold deficit.
Yeah. And so right there, I think that engagement, I'm screaming at Spacestation Gaming to listen to Jeff. Absolutely. Because that engagement is the first time that we've seen Jeff jump in and have follow-up. Now, I think it's very easy to sit and be an armchair coach and go, well, the Bacchus is 7 meters in front of everybody all the time. Well, it's his fault. Realistically, Jeff is identifying good team fights, jumping in, and then dying for his transgressions because ain't nobody following him up. Listen to the fat man. Follow up on Bacchus because he's identifying the right team fights. This was absolutely no mistake. Jeff saw or got communicated from the team that adapting was somewhere else. MIA, jump on in, and SSG win that team fight because of that fact.
It was just a great performance. It was a 3-man knockup. And
Yes.
that's a very rare sight or an opportunity to get if you're playing Bacchus support.
And you go for the 3-man knockup with Jeff, and then you get a secondary knockup from andinster. That's a big part of the CC chain for Spacestation Gaming. You can kill a carry in that time.
Definitely can, but it was Venenu that dropped really early, and it might be Vote dropping even earlier. Fatal Strike not having the range. SSG, they could have bitten off more than they can shoot, but the rest of PK gonna disengage, allowing Vote some time to heal up at the fountain.
I haven't loved the ultimates coming out from Aquarius, but I've liked a lot of his other plays, so you win some, you lose some. But I think that might be the thing that brings Space Station over this hump, is if Aquarius starts landing these executes and cutting this team fight down shorter, we might see some wins.
There's pings on the mini-map on the left side, tier 2 tower out of SSG, and the tier 2 in the mid. This is where PK is going to try to stall it out and let the minions do their thing while they do the fire giant. Look how many archers are just pounding at that tower.
That tier 2 tower is going to fall. Space Station know this, and they have to win the team fight. Pittsburgh know this. That's why they're forcing a team fight on their own terms. Venenu drops the ultimate, and that's going to cause Pittsburgh Knights to peel back. I'll check myself. That tier tower is still standing.
Very low. There was 3 archers outside of the tower that got distracted by a couple melee minions, but still with andinster having to back a 4-on-5, SSG playing defense, and EmilZy wants to start it off right.
Knock up onto the support, but waiting in beneath him is the ultimate.
Everyone's grouped up. Venenu very low. Deathwalker with the bludgeon. JeffHindla next to fall, knocking up, adapting, and taking him out. 4 dead on SSG.
Deathwalker right there just, hey, Bellona. Everybody remembers the bludgeon head gets extra damage when hitting multiple gods, right?
A lot, actually. About 25 or 30% extra slam damage per god that you hit, and everyone was just clumped up out of SSG.
That was the same problem that Space Station had in their fight against Dignitas yesterday. We're all gonna look at the King Arthur clip and laugh about the character and laugh about variety. But the truth is that micro positioning, if you spread out and then collapse, that situation's very different. And it's the same thing here with this Deathwalker. If you spread out and make sure that bludgeon only hits one player and then collapse on him while he has it available instead of getting hit by that ability, this might go Space Station's way.
Easier said than done, I would say, because in that kind of a late game encounter when everyone is trying to save Venenu's life, maybe drop empty the crypts and disengage from Pittsburgh Knights, it's difficult to really assess when it's good to group up and when it's good to disengage.
I mean, everything is easier said than done, but that's what needed to happen there.
If you're trying to kill the Bellona, you're going to try to kill the Bellona. You don't care about the slam damage. You just need to make sure that if you're going to group up for the Bellona, you better have an Aegis or a shell or something to deter that damage. You just don't want to group up for the big CCs like the Eagles Rally, the Bacchus Belly Flops, the EmilZy Draconic Form jump stun, right? Like, those are the abilities you need to worry about. Like, Deathwalker's damage is high, yes, but it's not on the highest list of priorities that you need to worry about for grouping or not grouping up against.
I mean,
because he'll shield bash you, and just basic attack you, and then all the reflect damage anyway is going to be a bigger scare tactic than the bludgeon slam damage. The whip that he's going to be able to sustain himself from as well is a more dangerous idea than the slam damage. Not to say that you have to disrespect the slam damage. That's not what I'm saying.
That's what won the team fight.
It's on the lower end of it all. Well, they won it because andinster wasn't there.
Left side. Ooh, early ultimate chases. This is good for SSG as the Arachne split pushing. Zyrhoes low, but all the way in the back. EmilZy going to do what he can and provide a little pressure. There's the jump forward from Deathwalker. Again, players grouped up. Slam damage brings Venenu down to a hair of HP. And Vote dashing forward, picks up two. One rising Jaguar, and down they go. But guess who's waiting? It's Aquaman with a double uno of his own.
Adapting, making the rotation. Zyrhoes with the Thunder Crash. It's only Aqua left alive for a moment. Adapting in the sky. Wants it. He gets it. Zyrhoes with the DS side, and that's going to be Pittsburgh Knights with game number 1.
Left side bird goes down. Ain't nobody to play defense. And the Titan going to crumble nice and easily. 30 minutes of play, 22-9. And the Knights find themselves a clean 20,000 gold. Well, the opposition and a clean win for the black and yellow.
They really baited out that team fight with adapting, split pushing at that tier 2 tower. I love it. It took them a long time to make that rotation, but because how far ahead PK was originally, it took forever for SSG to even find those 2 initial picks that they got.
Yeah, I liked what we saw out of SSG once or twice. These team fights were definitely sectioned off as you watch this game. And again, it just comes down to being able to follow the support. Every time Space Station, this seems like kind of 101, but every time Space Station seemed to be on the same page, they won those team fights. But it just happened few and far between.
I think that the composition out of PK added to the early level 1 strat of the invade shut SSG down in their tracks.
Well, one goes down to Pittsburgh Knights. We've got a couple of more games to go, but first, let's break it down.
We'll go over what just happened there in Game 1. Thanks, Tom. Thanks, Totally. I got Taco here on the desk, and that was a very strong win for Pittsburgh Knights. It was back and forth for a little while, but really, for being honest, the Knights had the gold lead really for the entirety of the game. Just a couple fights they let get away from them.
It felt a lot like the majority of the map pressure was also heavily in favor of Pittsburgh Knights, but there were definitely signs of life from Space Station, and this match already, I think, looked cleaner than their entire set yesterday with Dignitas.
Yes.
One big thing that I think is causing a lot of problems for Space Station is that they don't really have a way to contest Pittsburgh Knights around these objectives, because Pittsburgh Knights consistently continue to draft these compositions, prioritizing heavy attack speed, and when you have that sort of threat against an objective, even if you have the burst potential with an Puch, for example, if you're not able to catch up to the objective by the time that these carries are just shredding through them because of Fafnir Coerce, just all these attack speed stims, I would kind of want to see Spacestation Gaming start to stray away from this warrior jungle style that they've been looking for, and maybe start to introduce gods like Kumakarna, for example. I think something with hard crowd control that can give Space Station an opportunity to just slow down Pittsburgh Knights.
In particular, Deathwalker, I feel like, right? And by that I mean his initiations. He was a monster this game. He was able to establish lane pressure very early on. It was 9-1 Totem of Coups, I believe, in favor of Deathwalker. He was ahead of Aqua this whole game, and his initiations were nightmares. The Eagles rallies are going in for multiple stuns. He was getting bludgeoned on the multiple targets for a ton of damage. There were times he would just stand on the Fire Giant and eat damage, or stand in the front of the fight and look like his health bar wouldn't move. They didn't have enough way to either burn him quickly or to at least control him to give them a chance to reposition after he jumped in.
And I think that's been a heavy issue for Space Station, BaRRaCCuDDa especially, and Venenu. They've just been getting harassed so consistently by Deathwalker, by EmilZy. It's really allowing Zyrhoes and Vote to kind of just free cast from the back line without a care in the world. And I know that Aquarius had a couple of instances on the Achilles where he was able to actually work his way in, and then we saw those team fights were the most promising ones for Space Station, and they actually had a couple of really solid moments there, but unfortunately they just fell short, and I just don't really see this Vamana working out super well for Space Station. I really want to see them start to stray away from this and get Andy back on some of the more conventional, I think, jungle picks like the Cirquet, like the Fafnir even, or just something that they can actually afford to be controlling with.
and I'm wondering a little bit about their decision making. Remember they had this fight around the Pyromancer where they got the pick onto adapting, but on the back end of it they ended up losing. It was a 4v5, and they couldn't close that fight out. I mean, they had the right idea. That was a fight where they had the numbers advantage, but it feels like they get stuck in these bad engagements and they can't find a way to cleanly disengage. Maybe a little bit is that Venenu. I think he used his ultimate too early in that fight, and basically Deathwalker just kind of brushed it off. There just seems to be a couple pieces that aren't lining up.
Well, I think Deathwalker was just forcing Venenu to ult too early.
That's fair.
And that was
That's
also
fair.
a problem for Space Station. But I definitely think that Space Station might also maybe want to just hold on. If they're in that second pick position at least, maybe just hold on to the jungle pick entirely, leave andinster a chance to get a responsive pick to adapting instead of the other way around. I feel like adapting had the upper hand here by being able to see, you know, from the first 3 guys that Space Station picked, they kind of already revealed the fact that they would be leaving that Vamana for andinster. I think one thing that the casters were discussing was a possible swap between the Achilles and the Vamana, maybe Vamana solo for Aquarius and Achilles jungle. But
Interesting.
I think the Vamana also didn't really have a good way of disrupting the Arachne when she was actually
More
looking
control,
to commit
right?
onto a target. It's just, it all comes back to that hard CC. And I know Pittsburgh
agree.
Knights play this really well in the drafting stage because I know I mentioned Fafnir and Circad as like, you know, specific gods, but those are just examples of possibilities because Pittsburgh Knights did ban both of those gods in their first couple of ban choices. So it's just, I think Andy is so good on assassins.
Right.
I just really want to see him go back to that department because I understand the concept behind picking the Vamana. You want the warrior jungle because you want that early game bullying pressure, but if you know that adapting's probably going to look for Bacchus or for the Arachne because those have a heavy early game potential, I think that you're better off just looking for a jungler that has control in its kit.